And then, nothing. Nothing. Like I told you, nothing. And you always have this same dream. Not every night, if that's what you mean. But often still. Yes. Yes, I do. All my life, I have been a habitual dreamer. The nights are few, that is to say, when I do not find, on awakening in the morning, that some mental experience has been mine. There's nothing inherently unusual about that, I admit. But these months of late, this dream, it's different. And it's persistent. Oh, there are little variations, extensions, changes, you might say. But the feeling is always the same. Variations? In the pattern, it's... well... the scenario I described to you is the basis upon which everything else followed. Like I told you, I'm running through these woods. I don't know what from, but the fear drives me forward all the same. And then I stop. And I look around. There's not a soul but mine to be found. I suppose the question is, why do they bother you so much? The dreams, I mean, aren't they just that? Dreams? It depends on your point of view, I suppose. On dreams? What about them? Do you think our dreams can carry any real significance to them? What do you think, if you would answer the question? I doubt you'd care much for my answer. I think you already have your mind made up. I think you want to say what's on your mind. So, say it. Well, I didn't think much of the idea previous to the disturbances, but now I'm not so sure. You see, most dreams I can never remember having experienced are like the antithesis to life itself. They're so unpredictable, they're so unlike... well, you know what they're like. And I take it then that it is the pattern you described before that troubles you. That because you have the same dream, or rather variations on the same dream, there somehow must be some deeper significance to the matter. In a word, yes. It sounds rather Freudian, I realise. Latent content, I believe, was his theory. Your hidden fears and desires shown in a symbolic form, the manifest content of the dream. It's an interesting thought, but not a valid one, you think? What I would say is that when it comes down to it, I think our individual experiences aren't truly transferable. They can certainly be shared, but never in full. Take your dream, for example. I can practically taste it on my tongue, but I can never swallow it down. To be in someone else's skin is to truly be someone else, and I am not that someone. All of that is to say, why not? If you truly believe there's some greater significance at hand. Does it really matter if I say otherwise? I'm still not sure whether I believe in the idea. Let us assume as though you do. The roots of this tree are buried deep in the ground. Tell me more about the dreams. What else happened? As I told you, the basic scenario is always consistent. But every time this dream occurs to me, something, no matter how small, is different. The world becomes more empty. For example, I dreamt that I stood atop a hill above this town, and I would see, dotted around below me, these groups of people stumbling out of bars and restaurants, couples walking through the park, a few people prowling the streets, alone. And I would watch them, these same people, every time, without fail. But as the months progressed, and the dream with it, these specks of existence withdrew, until one day I found myself looking upon empty streets, abandoned vehicles, lifeless houses. Even with the lights still on, you could feel it, an unmistakable sense of total desolation. And then, as always, I would find myself in those woods, running from him. Him, the other man. Who is he? I don't know. What does he look like? I don't know. I never see his face. I only see his figure, some distant figure, chasing after me with, shall we say, brave intentions. After that I always start to run. And I run. And I run. I run with no idea of where the path leads or how it will end. Like I said, variations on this dream occur. For a long time that has been the case. But there is always one constant. Him. And for now at least, that's all there is. You're holding something back. What do you mean? Be honest. I am being honest. I've not spoken a word in this conversation that wasn't truth. I never claimed you were lying. But when I said the roots of this tree were nestled deep in the ground, I meant it. What's troubling you? What is it really? I don't know what it is. Oh, I think you do. I think you know far too well. It seems oh so vague, such a vivid intrusion, and yet I get the sense that there's more to it than you're letting on. There is more. Yes. Well, what is curious is that, in spite of all the variations, it has always ended ambiguously, without ceremony, without any significance, it would seem. I find that as I run, sooner or later, at some random interval, the fear overtakes me. It clasps my throat, and I awake screaming. But last time was different. Last time I ran for what felt like miles and miles, hurtling down this endless forest path with nothing but the fear to sustain my flight. All the while, he was gaining on me. I ran on. Suddenly I stumbled to the ground, and when I looked up, I wasn't on the path any longer, but in some clearing. I looked all around, half expecting to turn and see some dreadful image in front of me. But I could see nothing at all. Nothing, except the endless array of trees whispering to each other. The sounds of the forest echoed in a most persistent manner. It was like being in a tunnel. I backed up against one of the trees, trying to catch my breath, when I noticed something rather peculiar. I listened. I couldn't quite pinpoint it. And then I listened again, and I held my breath. And yet the breathing did not stop. I knew then that the end could not be averted, and before I had time to scream, his hand covered my mouth. I found myself grasping for release, gasping for air, and something warm ran down my chest. But at that point, the vision had faded, and any other sensations quickly followed suit. And then I opened my eyes, and what I saw filled me with a dread so inconceivable that I cannot try to relate it in full. All that matters is what was in front of me, and that was me. Oh, you don't need to be told that I was dead. I looked at my hands, stained with that unmistakable colour. I looked up at the trees. I woke up. Not in fear, not screaming, but as if nothing else mattered anymore. And I often feel that nothing does. My nightmares control my waking hours, how I act, how I think, how I feel. I feel so desperately alone, as if no one else existed but me. Sometimes I feel like nothing exists at all. And yet, here we seem to be. You said that the roots of this tree were buried deep in the ground. You weren't wrong. But after all that digging, in the end, what did you find? The body of a troubled soul. just the body. I must leave you now. But there'll be another time.